got me good in a hole that I just can't defuse. But I know, the tricks up your sleeve. Cause you and I used to sing just to pass by the time, and I can't let go without a thoughtful thought to where a song may flow. Some ring away, but the echo of yours seem to stay. And lately when I listen close, what I hear may be fake. So you be real now, and I'll be honest, that what we've got here is truly harmonic. And I can search just to hear the same sound play. But why would I when you're standing here right in front of me? Truly harmonic. You've got me good. It's a concept I just can't refuse, but you had to see through what seems without flaw. So you may say that this anthem of ours long away. Maybe it's true. So when this sound leaves my ear, I can't help but to sing it again. Hope that if I sing it out, maybe you'll comprehend. I've been around now, and all is silent. What we've got here is truly harmonic. When you think of me and the lyrics that we used to sing, and take them for more than what they appear. 'Cause all along, I'll admit that it's all just a song, but maybe it's more than singing to me. Do we exist if the sound of our music stops playing? Maybe the next time around things won't be the same without its change. So you be real now, and I'll be honest, that what we've got here is truly harmonic. And I can search just to hear the same sound play. But why would I when you're standing here right in front of me? Truly harmonic. Set? We ready to go?
We're on.
All right, give me the finger. No, this finger, not that finger. That was disgusting. It really was. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Business Power Hour with Darren and the Music Man. This handsome dude over here. This is Darren, and I guess that leaves me, which is the Music Man. So, what's up with you?
How are you, Mr. Music Man?
I was late today.
You were late.
Yeah,
you were running late.
Well,
you know, we have a different time.
Yeah, I'm in a different time zone.
You're in a different time zone.
I'm usually in a different
traffic's
time zone.
a little bit different this time of day, right?
Yes, it is.
Here,
so. We're not used to this.
Did you have a good week?
Yeah, not bad, not terrible.
We got a double this week. We got to do today and Wednesday,
Wednesday
right?
night.
Yeah.
Wednesday night, for those of you that are out there, we have a cybersecurity expert. Not
No.
Who's on this week?
No, Wednesday is Dr. Saul's. Bill Saul.
Bill Saul, yeah, Switch.
Yeah, Switch.
Yes,
We're a psychotherapist. He's going to come in, and he's an expert in PTSD. He's going to work with me specifically.
He always tried me.
Well, the thing is, working with him, I have a lot of PTSD, so that he's going to help me out.
That. Yeah.
So that's going to be Wednesday night show.
Yeah,
but
right.
tonight,
and then week after. Tonight we have a more serious matter that we're going to discuss.
Right. Tonight is our charity night. We do. Usually we do our charity night the fourth week, but because
every month.
Jim was out, we had to reschedule, and Jim was nice enough to let us squeeze it in before the next fourth of the week. Thanks, Jim. We appreciate that. But we want to introduce, and I'll let you do the introductions.
We want to add Kate. I don't know your last name, but you are Kate. And you are the director of programming for the Long Island Alzheimer Association.
Yes, I am.
Not the other one, just association.
The association.
Exactly. And that lovely lady sitting next to you that I've known for a few years now. Her name is Laura. Which name you want to use?
Genta.
Genta.
Okay, because she's a married lady too as well.
Okay.
And she is director of education and outreach,
Yes.
right? And a board member of the association,
Yes.
and also a director or something of Harbor.
Director of Education and Outreach for Harbor House Memory Care Community.
See, this is how we get you to start talking, because if he's an idiot, so you start talking. So tell us a little about what you guys do.
So the Alzheimer's Association is the leading voluntary health organization in Alzheimer's care, support, and research.
Where are you located?
So the Long Island chapter is right here in Melville. We also have a satellite office out in Riverhead. But the Alzheimer's Association is nationwide.
Yes.
Our primary headquarters are in Chicago. There's a public policy office in D.C., but every state has an office. So we literally cover the entire country with our services.
Now, there's I think another Alzheimer's, not an association, I think. Is that in Port Washington?
There is another organization that used to be in Port Washington.
Okay, they've
They're
moved?
actually in Westbury now. If I'm thinking of the organization,
Right,
you're
the
referencing.
Long Island Alzheimer's Foundation, which is an adult daycare program for Alzheimer's disease. Very different than the association, but we do support each other.
I thought they were in
each
Port
other's
Washington, but it's
programs.
Westbury, right?
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
work very
Okay.
closely together.
Got
We
it.
use their space for a lot of our programs and services as well. We refer families to their services like we do for.
So they're a really good partner organization
Yeah.
to complement what
Yeah.
you guys are doing. That's fantastic.
What kind of
Let's-
co-inventing do you
let's-
do?
If I could, no, before we even get there, you're always going into different
I'm a
directions
fast
here.
guy.
Here's where I want to go. For those viewers that don't know the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's.
The number one question
Okay.
I ask Laura too about it. Yes.
Okay, so tell us, people say, well, my grandfather has dementia. And right away, everybody assumes it's Alzheimer's, but they're not the same thing, right?
No, not at all. So dementia is really the umbrella term. Dementia in and of itself is not a disease, it's a syndrome. It's a series of symptoms. So that's the cognitive issues, that's the memory loss, that's issues with planning and thinking. And Alzheimer's is the most common form of irreversible dementia. So you have all of these symptoms, this syndrome, and when you go to find out what is causing it, it could be some things that are reversible, could be high blood pressure, it could be thyroid issues, or on occasion it's caused by things
But it
that
can't
are
be
irreversible.
fixed.
Well,
Correct?
it depends. So there are dementias that can be fixed, right? Alzheimer's can't as of now, but we're hoping and we're doing our research hoping for a cure.
Right, if I could just interject really
Sure.
quickly. Last year, when you were very sick, you were having trouble remembering things.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So that's a form of dementia.
Yes, so an infection in the body can cause that.
Mm-hmm.
Alcoholism, if someone is inebriated beyond the ability to reason or logic, that's a demented state. So
Right.
someone can be in a demented state and have dementia, but those things are able to be taken away. A urinary tract infection can cause dementia-like symptoms in someone, but they're treated with an antibiotic and it can go away. Someone who's severely dehydrated can have dementia-like symptoms. But then when someone has a disease such as Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or
Lewy body
Lewy body dementia, vascular,
Right.
those things are not as easily corrected. So finding out the biological cause of the dementia is really important to take the next steps to see if it's curable or not.
So
So,
let me just throw this in. 50, 60 years ago, because I said earlier when you came in, my grandfather I thought had dementia or could have been Alzheimer's now. There was no breakdown at that point in time whether it was Alzheimer's or dementia. Is that right?
So again, so think about dementia in terms of it's a symptom. And it's a series of symptoms, which is why they call it a syndrome and not just the word symptom. But there is no disease, dementia. Dementia is a series of symptoms.
Got it.
And then it can be caused by a disease. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all of those.
It's kind of like a pain in the shoulder is a symptom of something else going on in there.
So you may have bursitis,
Right.
or you may have just pulled it, or you may
Right.
have a rotator cuff issue.
You're right.
But you still have a pain.
Right. So,
So it's very
dementia is really the symptom.
Exactly.
It's really what comes down to what is causing that to happen. Some of the things that cause that, one of the things that cause that is Alzheimer's disease, correct? All right. So tell us about Alzheimer's disease. What exactly is it?
So it is a degenerative brain disease, and basically what happens is your neurons start to die, and the neurons can no longer communicate with each other, and basically it's a fatal illness. So you're going to start to see some of the hallmark signs of memory loss. You'll see problems with planning, not remembering.
Oh gosh, I'm in trouble.
Poor judgment.
No, seriously,
Although if you've
thinking.
never had very good judgment, don't use that as a hallmark.
Right. I was going to say I know some very young people that are like that.
Yes.
But
No, but these
not
would
to
be
make a joke of
situations
it.
where people, did have good, sense of judgment.
Is there a primary age where it strikes?
So they say typical Alzheimer's impacts people over the age of 65. About 1 in 8 people over the age of 65. And then once you turn 85, it changes to 1/3 of people
Wow.
over the age of 85.
So really,
we are
that's
seeing more people diagnosed, though, under the age of 65. We call that younger onset.
right.
There are probably about 200,000 people in this country right now with the younger onset.
So what you're telling us is that the risk is great once we hit 65, because 1 in 8 is a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Age is the
Okay.
primary risk factor
Right.
for Alzheimer's.
So it's basically your body's breaking down. Is there anything that you can do
well,
to prevent it?
I don't love the term your body's breaking down because
Okay.
that's where people start to get confused and think that Alzheimer's is a natural part of aging, and it's not. Because your body does start to break down as you age. So there will be certain types of memory loss because you're getting a little bit older. Alzheimer's is different though, and when we talk to people who are diagnosed with the disease, they'll even tell you how it's different.
Right.
That it's not forgetting a phone number, it's forgetting how to use the telephone.
Isn't there hallucinations and such that
In
happen
Lewy body
too?
dementia, there can be,
Remember my
and
grandfather.
delusions.
Mhm.
So that's a different type of dementia that can cause that, and we see that a lot in Parkinson's as well, that type of dementia. So looking at the disease as a whole and seeing that, yes, there's a lot of different types of dementias. There's Alzheimer's being the most prevalent, right?
Mhm.
So the important things to understand for people out there is that the same way we can talk about cancer and we can talk about diabetes and we can talk about heart disease, we can talk about Alzheimer's and we can talk about dementia. It's become such a scary thing because it is a disease of the mind. So
Right.
am I crazy? Is there something wrong with me?
Mhm.
If I say that my mother, brother, aunt, uncle, cousin has this, am I saying there's something wrong with them?
Is it hereditary?
That's not the case. Alzheimer's disease is hereditary, yes, can be.
Can be, yeah.
Let me
Can
just
be.
throw something in here. If anybody wants to call in and ask a question, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that you may think something about yourself, or you have a mom, dad, aunt, uncle, cousin. The number is 631-415-1365 to call in at 631-415-1365. And while we're on the topic of phone numbers, why don't you guys give out your contact information, your phone number?
So honestly, if there's one thing you leave here with, it is the 24/7 helpline, which is staffed by technical assistants, but also by trained dementia specialists round the clock. 1-800-272-3900. Everything we're
Say it
going to
again.
talk about, 1-800-272-3900.
We want to make sure that people, get
Absolutely.
to
Right.
to write it down.
And they can also go to the website, alz.org,
And you
right?
could / Long Island if you wanted to just find out about the local chapter.
Okay. Facebook, ALZ Long Island.
Mhm.
Facebook for the national is Action ALZ. See, I've done my
You
research.
did.
The
made a
Twitter
copy.
account.
Over here.
Let's talk about that. Right.
He's just reading what he copied.
The Twitter account, ALZ Association. You guys didn't know I know about the Twitter account, did you? And Instagram, ALZ Association, also on Instagram. So you guys are everywhere.
Trying to be, absolutely.
You need to be, because you got to get this information out, because there's so much misinformation, because people go, I'll just Google it and figure out what's wrong with me.
But even more so, all of the free programs and services that we offer to the communities throughout the country, that to me...
Do you want to talk about them? You want to mention
Well,
something?
let me ask you this,
Yes.
right? We have a lot of people, and you see all of these fundraisers and things like that, and you hear these horror stories. I have a friend that his wife was afflicted with the disease, and and I knew her, and every time I saw her, she was progressively getting worse, to the point where he had to get full-time care for her because she couldn't remember to do pretty much anything. That's a terrible thing. How do people afford this full-time care? Especially, a lot of people that are afflicted with this, and correct me if I'm wrong, are middle-class people where it's hard enough to make a living as it is, much less have to hire somebody full-time to take care of a loved one.
Right, and that's not what the Alzheimer's Association does as far as providing payment. But there are programs, and there is an enormous resource list that you can go to on the website to find people who can help with Medicaid, to find out about grant programs and waiver programs and what is out there for caregivers, whether it be to get some care at home, to get some respite. There are things out there, and a lot of that is located on the website for the resources.
Laura, I'm actually going to take that a step further, because I think it brings us to the conversation what Laura was talking about earlier about wanting to talk about the disease, because these are all plans that need to be put in place early on in the diagnosis.
Right.
People don't want to talk about it. They get the diagnosis, they go home, they sit on it for a long time, and that's where we could really be helpful.
Right.
That's where, calling that 24/7 helpline, meeting with one of our care consultants, available in the communities, and sitting down and setting those plans in place to say, at some point down the road, you're going to need this type of long-term care. Maybe you won't, but you need to plan for it
be
in
prepared.
case you do.
It's
Absolutely.
kind of what I saw with my aunt, and my uncle was almost like, no, just, it's not happening.
Right.
It was that was almost the attitude of it's not happening. And after a while, you're like, it's happening. You got to do
it's
something
gonna
about
happen.
it.
And then you're planning in crisis.
Right.
When you had all this time that you could have been putting ducks in a row or
Being
taking
more
care of things
proactive.
financially as well as emotionally. The Alzheimer's Association has incredible support groups that are offering to have spouses come specifically.
Right.
When it's your mother or father, you kind of have somewhere in the back of your head, even as you're growing older and you hit that 30-40 mark, you start saying, okay, well, I'm going to have to take care of mom or dad at some point in some way someday. But you don't necessarily think about that your spouse is going to have that, and that you're going to be losing the person who you love, who was your partner, and you lose a part of them. And how do you cope with that? And having a spousal support group and being able to have people who are in that same boat to talk to and have somebody who can educate and facilitate that is huge.
Laura actually facilitates one of the support groups. I'm so glad
Okay,
she
so
brought that.
but that's a huge thing, not only for
Yeah.
the spouse, but the family members that are around this
Yeah.
person, and how to deal with it.
Laura is
Absolutely.
involved with so many things. Laura is extremely, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you before,
Yeah.
and hopefully I will get to meet you again and be able to help the two of us as best we can, your organization. But Laura is known that if God
Thank
forbid you have a problem, you call, if that in aging, you call Laura.
I call her questions, Jessica.
In fact,
As I call you.
can we mention one of the organizations that you're with?
I'm guessing you're going to talk about the National Aging in Place
I
Council.
am, and it's
Absolutely.
because the relationship between the two is,
Yes.
I mean, you're
And
together.
we do have a
Yeah.
strong relationship,
Yes.
and providing resources and being able to be there for families, whether it be to educate or to guide or just to listen. I think the Alzheimer's Association, as well as National Aging in Place Council, we're just very passionate about making sure that people get what they need. And as a caregiver myself, and Kate, I know, as a caregiver, and just looking at the loss and the lack and the gaps in the system for people, they don't know that there's help out there, and that's why it's so important. And thank you for doing this show for us.
And that's a lot of the charities that we have come on say that it's like nobody knows what's out there for them. A lot of people feel, and I'm sure a lot of people in this situation feel the same way, is like, well, I'm the only one going through it. And our older generations, because my uncle was like that, very proud, very not want to, we're not going to ask for help because we don't need help type. I'm sure you guys run into that all the time.
Of course.
And that's probably a huge hurdle to get over in order to get them the support and help that they need.
Let's talk about timing for a second. Let's say I go to the doctor. I'm thinking that maybe I have an issue. And I go to the doctor and he tells me you're onset. Okay? And I don't put my attitude, and I call. And I call your hotline. What's the procedure that one goes through? How do you start taking care of yourself?
So I would probably ask a few questions about how your diagnosis went. It should be a little bit more than you sitting across from your
understand. So
Okay,
I would
so
come
you
with
wanna
my
make sure
doctor's
that-
findings and present
you're
them to
comfortable
you.
with the diagnosis
Yes.
and you feel that it's accurate. Then we would probably offer to do an in-person care consultation, just kind of meet you out in the community where you and your loved ones, whoever would want to be a part of it. And during that meeting, we would try to assess exactly where you are. Have you started thinking about meeting with elder care attorneys, or started to think about long-term care insurance, or what the plan's going to be down the road? We would absolutely suggest some caregiver support groups. We have 24 different groups throughout all of Long Island, evenings, weekends, daytime. And as Laura was saying, we do have general caregiver groups because some people just like to be in a general group. But then we kind of started to take a look at different, we have a millennial group that we're going to be starting soon. Because think about it, you're just graduating college, starting your career, and you may be having to care for, whether it be a grandparent or your parent. We have a spousal group. We have groups for spouses of younger onset because, that's, you were just getting ready to retire with the love of your life.
And all of a sudden,
all of those plans for retirement have now changed a little bit. And we've found that, the social workers can absolutely work with families, and they're just so caring and amazing people. But the supports that the peers can give to the other caregivers, it's amazing. I love when I go to a group that's fully formed and you can just kind of kick back and it's almost as if they run themselves. I mean, obviously you kind of redirect.
It almost becomes like a little family, right?
Absolutely.
Because everybody is very involved in what's going on. They're all feeling the same things and they're sharing.
Right.
And it bonds them together.
Absolutely. And it's different hearing from a doctor or from somebody who's a professional in the field than to actually sit down and talk to somebody who's going through the same things day in and day out that you are, and what might have worked for you, and listening to your solution, and maybe I'll try that, and what might have worked for somebody else. Hey, it didn't work for me, but this is what I tried. And that just kicking that around and the brainstorming that goes on in these groups is just amazing to see, because you get these ideas and these gems that you can take and say, okay, this is a tool and I can use this.
Is
And
there
it
ever
can help
recession?
me.
In other words, do people ever go back to when things were better? Is there things that you do that enable them to
the person diagnosed or the caregiver?
No, the person diagnosed.
Well, no, it's not going to reverse back. But
Does
people,
it stay? Can you do anything to control it before it gets
there were
worse?
certain medications that are designed to treat the symptom of memory loss or some of the symptoms, and it could help people retain.
You mean like the
for
jellyfish?
A little bit longer. No.
I mean, what is with that thing, jellyfish?
I can't comment on non-FDA approved
So wait a second, what are you saying? People use jellyfish?
Yeah, there's a
thing
supplement.
out there that
Really?
comes from jellyfish.
Yeah, there's a supplement.
Oh, that's
It's on
And
the-
they
They
advertise
say that
like
it helps.
crazy. Oh,
That
that
helps.
cures it.
That cures it.
Yeah, they get crazy
Yeah,
with
but
the
there's
commercials.
no cure for
No,
Alzheimer's, correct?
no, there's not.
There's no cure.
How does
It's
Parkinson's figure into this, or doesn't it? Is that something totally different?
Well, it's a different disease, but people with Parkinson's, actually a high percentage, can have dementia along with their Parkinson's.
Yes.
So the dementia.
What do you
piece of
get
it.
first? Is that how do you get dementia or Alzheimer's first?
So if someone has Parkinson's, part of the symptoms of Parkinson's can be a demented state or dementia caused by the Parkinson's. The Alzheimer's, it's a totally separate disease, but it can also cause dementia, which is again the symptom.
Okay, so part of the symptoms that we'd be looking for, right? And I know you can't really see on the screen that they're telling me, Jim is saying that we really can't see it, but you know, the 10 signs. Let's talk about the 10 signs. So we're talking about memory loss that disrupts daily life. So it's not just the typical, where did I leave my pen? It's, where did I have no idea where I left my pen, and I can't figure out how to retrace my steps, right?
Exactly.
So that's something that, you know, I can't do something because I don't remember how to do it. I don't remember how to open the front door.
It's not losing the remote control.
Right.
It's
Yeah, because if that was the case, I'd be in trouble.
A
Because
lot
I'm
of
always
it is
looking for a
sequencing. You forget how to sequence. So
Mhm.
I walk into a room and I forget what I had to get when I went in there. If you give me a minute to think about it, I'll retrace my steps and remember.
Right.
Somebody with Alzheimer's or dementia can't do that. But sometimes in the beginning stages, if they're cued appropriately and you're giving them the right steps, they can follow the task.
Right.
But you need to know how to give them the proper steps and
It's
cues.
almost like they get stuck, and then you can kind of trigger them by
Right.
telling them what they're
And
going
that's what the Alzheimer's Association education
Right.
can do for families, just understanding how to communicate. There are ways to communicate with someone with Alzheimer's or dementia. There's certain tools that you can use in your toolbox and keep in your mind and say, okay, when I have this communication, I can make it easier and not have a bad interaction with someone just by doing the proper steps. So the Alzheimer's Association does all that training to help families who are struggling in their own homes, just having conversations over the breakfast table with their
Right.
loved one.
So another one of our important programs are these caregiver training or education programs that we offer throughout the community. And we do them for the community at large, but also ones that are targeted specifically for caregivers. So we do our early detection and awareness, which is the Know the 10 warning signs.
Speaking about the early detection, is there a special doctor that one goes to, or do you just go to your regular general practitioner and you take a blood test?
There's no blood test.
So there's
But
no.
it's a
So how do you find out if you?
How are you
Really,
diagnosed with the disease?
It's ruling out certain things and then seeing that the way the disease is progressing is typically what you would find in Alzheimer's disease right now. But they're getting really good at it. There are there's a PET imaging test that can show some of the hallmark plaques and tangles, but most people and
What is a
insurance
PET
doesn't
imaging?
cover it.
I mean, actually.
Yeah, explain the PET imaging.
So it's a test that they would do where there's they can use dye and it would actually show these plaques and tangles, which are the hallmark signs in the brain
Okay.
of Alzheimer's disease. Right now, though, it's very difficult to get the PET imaging done because it's very expensive.
All right.
As a matter of fact, the Alzheimer's Association is currently involved in a study. We're funding a study and taking part in it to be able to show that if we used PET imaging, that we could then put programs and services in place and do some medical things so that it could potentially impact health outcomes.
Right.
So we are trying to make it so that this type of test could be funded or could be paid for by insurance companies.
Well, that's fantastic that you guys are working on these things and really trying to get ahead of it. Because as you said before, there's no test, it's just a series of process of elimination to come down to this is what it is. That's a horrible thing, because think about it, you may go years without really knowing if you have it or not, right?
The right physicians, though, are pretty accurate. They really are.
Geriatricians, really.
Geriatricians are really the ones that
geriatric psychiatrists. We have, and we're very fortunate where we live here on Long Island. There are a number of really skilled clinicians.
Well, I know that there's over 5 million people in the country that have it,
5.8.
right? 5.8 million. How many people on Long Island are estimated to have it? Because I know you can't give
I
the
know,
exact
we don't
number.
have county data. There's about 400,000 in New York State.
Okay.
But we couldn't break it down to the
Couldn't break it
county
down
level. It
as
wouldn't be
to exact-
accurate. It really wouldn't.
Right. Okay. All right.
But
So it's about
still
400,000
New
New
Yorkers, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's
You
a
have a
lot.
very soothing way of talking. I feel better already. You do. You really do.
Thank you.
You do, and so do you.
But he's known you longer, Laura. So
Yes.
I may be looking for a job in radio.
I'll
we
take
can
my
get-
consolation
We can
prize.
get you a show right here on Village Connection Network.
You want to
Right,
continue
Jim?
with your 10
Warning
Yes.
signs.
signs?
All right. So we talked about the memory loss. We talked about the challenges in planning and solving problems. It's the simple things, like tying a shoe or
Managing your checkbook.
managing your
Yeah,
checkbook.
recipes that you used to know by heart and be able to follow. Now you're not able to do the measurements.
Right. Do the measurements. You can't even follow it when you're reading it. Right. It looks-
Getting ready for the day. Simple act of brushing your teeth, washing your face. What sequence do you do that in? What do you do when you get into the shower?
right.
Showering becomes very scary for people with Alzheimer's and dementia. What do you do in there? What's that thing hitting you? Is that water? You can't see it.
Right.
And
So we never
those
think
steps,
of things like
it's
this.
the simplest things, the things we take for granted every day that are lost.
Yeah. And that's you
And
see.
that's definitely a little more progressed disease, though. Like when we talk early detection wise.
Right.
Right, not in early
Yeah.
detection.
Right. Okay, with confusion with time and space, right, or place. Trouble understanding visual images and spatial relations.
Which is an
relationships.
interesting one because
Right.
most people think the driving issue has a lot to do with getting lost, which it
Right.
does.
Yeah.
You do fun. But think about how much your brain is managing between the side mirror, the rear view mirror, looking at, and still having to step on the gas, step on the brake. So it's
Right.
processing all of those visual images.
The speed
that
of the other
really-
vehicles coming your way.
Yeah. That,
I
Things
was
like
just
that.
in a car accident 3 weeks ago.
Oh.
I was hit by a 93-year-old man who hit the back of my car. His car was 2 days old.
oh,
Wow.
But forget the 2 days old. What the heck is your son or daughter or wife allowing you to drive? He shook. Now this is his normal everyday.
But I know some really sharp 93 that
Yeah,
are
No,
I know.
understood.
sharp as a tack.
But there is a time and place where somebody in the family's got to say, "That's it. No more. Take those keys." What are you buying a new car?
Oh, I mean, for us, it's a non-judgment zone, but we do speak a lot to families about the dangers of continuing
Well,
to
since-
drive once you've been diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
And it's not even so much how sharp their minds are, because there are a lot of 93-year-olds that are very, very sharp. Excuse me. It's the reflexes. And, I think
I
in your
meant sharp and
case,
good reflexes.
In my case, it was absolutely reflexes.
it was
And
definitely
there
reflexes.
are adaptations to cars, but I want you to get through the
Okay.
the 10 warning
So,
signs.
right, so we talked about the troubleshooting with the spatial. New problems with words in speaking or writing. People who stumble over their words tend to stumble more, right? Or they even forget what the meanings of words
Yeah,
are.
we all have word retrieval issues. It
Yeah.
happens all the time. I'm surprised it's not happening to me more here. But it becomes more common where they can't remember the words. They stop mid-sentence. They start making up names for different things. So
Right.
instead of it being a watch, because they can't remember watch, it becomes a time face or something that they end up making up.
Isn't it the thing too, where people that suffer from this remember older things versus newer things?
So it's not so much that they lose their memory loss is more recent stuff
Yes.
that they've learned. So it's they retain their older memories for longer periods of time, which is so important because what we tell, and this is another reason to attend some of our educational programs, is when someone, if you're working with mom and dad and they're living in their childhood, meet them there. Don't try to fight them and remind them that it's 2019 and that they're living at home with their wife, or if they're in their childhood, that's where you should try to meet them. So
My
that's
grandfather
very
was in
important
Brooklyn.
to see where they are.
He lived in the Bronx, but he was in Brooklyn drinking beer. That was his thing. I was 10 years old. I
And if it makes
remember
them
like
How's
this
your
yesterday.
beer pop?
Back
That's
there,
it.
yeah.
That's it. Like,
Yeah.
because he wanted to
Let's go sit on the
go to
porch.
Brooklyn. All right,
So
let's take a
that's
walk.
a lot of truth that they remember things like from that time frame a lot better than they're remembering current things. I can't remember current things most of the time, but
Because you're multitask.
it's multitask. It's, but we all remember those things, and I saw my aunt feel comfort in remembering this stuff when she was younger because she could remember it very clearly in the beginning. Before it went.
But finish these off
Let's
because it's getting late.
Okay, it's decreased in poor judgment.
Yeah.
Right, we talked about that. Withdrawal from work and social activities. That was one of the things that we saw, was that she was less and less. When you saw her, it was more not, hey, how you doing, type. So you see them withdraw quite a bit, or somebody who's not as talkative as they usually are. That may be a sign.
And social isolation is a big defense mechanism that goes up when people start to realize that something's not quite right.
Right.
Let me not speak to my friends. Let me not speak to my family. So then no one can catch on.
Right. No one can catch on because, again, they're embarrassed about their situation. They really shouldn't be.
Not at all.
It's unfortunately, it's a disease that you get. Just like if you got cancer or any other type of disease, it's a terrible, terrible disease, and people are here to help.
Yes.
And that's what most of us forget.
Yeah.
We don't want to be a burden on other people, so we kind of retreat and hide and
the most important part of the Know the 10 Warning Signs is at the end, we're not saying that you then have Alzheimer's. What we're saying is these signs and symptoms mean that you need to get it checked out. You need to go see a doctor.
Exactly.
Because as we were saying earlier, it could be something reversible. If it's not, you want to know what it is so you can begin the planning process.
Exactly. And the last one is changes in mood and personality.
Yeah.
So, you
agitation,
they get very short.
Well, people do that in general, don't they?
Well, you know what? You think about it. When we get very tired, we get cranky.
Yeah.
And having this disease is very cumbersome. It's very taxing on people. So you could understand because they're trying so hard to remember all the time that it wears them out.
Yeah.
It definitely wears them out.
We see often family members who don't live with a mom or a dad or other family member that has the disease, and they come to visit for a weekend, and the person will bring everything they have to seem completely normal for that day or that hour or that weekend, and afterwards it's just so draining on them that for days after they need to sleep and just recuperate from what it took them to pull it together in that time.
Yeah, people don't understand that it's a lot harder to
And it's
work
tough
the
on
mind
family.
than it is to just be physical. Yeah.
Well, it's a disease that affects the entire family. It doesn't just affect the person who's diagnosed. It affects everyone around them. And that's what the Alzheimer's Association supports, is not just someone with the disease, but the person with the disease, their family, their friends, all of their loved ones. And that's why
it's the community around them.
Yes, and the fundraising becomes so important because of these programs, and we don't want to lose them, and the support that we're given from families on Long Island and from local businesses is just...
You're going to go to walk, which I know is technically a fundraiser.
Yeah.
But the program team, we would say it's like one big
Awareness.
support
We're
group.
we're gonna get there in a couple of minutes, but right now we're gonna take a short break.
Sure.
All right, and hear a word from our sponsors. Hi, everybody. This is Darren Sayafi, the business therapist over here at CBMS Consulting Services. Business therapist? What is that? Well, some people call us business coaches. Some people call us business advisors. But what we're really here to do is to help you get to that next level. We're here to help those business owners who feel stuck. They feel frustrated. They don't know who to talk to in order to help them get to that next level. Do you have problems with employees? Do you have problems with vendors? Do you have problems with customers? We can help you work through all of those things. Well, how do we do that? Well, at CBMS, one of the things that we're here to do is help you strategize on what your business goals should be and what your personal goals should be. Because little do you know, or you probably already know this, that your business life is part of your personal life. And you need to make sure that they're in sync. We help you do that. We help you put systems in place. We help you do all the things every other coach does, but we take it to that next level. We care. We worry about you first, and we help relieve those tensions, give you that person to bounce things off of that you need in order to be successful. So don't wait. Give us a call today. You can reach us at 631-721-4347. That's 631-721-4347. Or go to our website at www.cbms.co. That's www.cbms.co, and click on the schedule a call and let me show you how I can help you achieve success. Hi, this is Darren from the Business Power Hour. Are you associated with a charity or a nonprofit organization that is looking to raise money, but you want to do something different from other charities or something you've never done before? Well, if that's the case, then you need to call our friends at Friend Entertainment USA. Friend Entertainment provides tribute concert events featuring the best tribute talent from all over the USA, saluting stars such as Donna Summer, the Bee Gees, Queen, and many more. Whether you like Motown, rock and roll, R&B, country, Christian, or whatever type of music you like, they will provide you with the best entertainment at a price that is very affordable. In addition to music, they are now offering comedy shows saluting such stars as Robin Williams and Joan Rivers. With over 31 years of experience, Friend Entertainment will teach you how to create a successful show. The first thing you need to do is sit down with them and learn how you and your organization can put together a show that can be done from anywhere in the USA. These events will help you bring needed funds and branding to your organization, so you can continue to provide the needed services to your community. No organization is too big or too small. So reach out today. You can call or email Norman at Friend Entertainment USA and let him help your charity or nonprofit create an unforgettable fundraising experience. Call 844-698-9696. That's 844-698-9696. Or visit their website at friendentusa.com and ask for the Music Man. Tell him Darren sent you. Welcome back, everybody. I can't believe how fast this show is going. I mean, this is actually, it's a special topic, and I wish we could spend more time on it.
We are. We're going to give them. We're going to get a whole.
We're going to bring you guys
hour.
back. Yeah, we're going to bring you guys back. And we're going to do it again. But before we go, tell us what's going on. What do you got coming up?
Before we go over to some of our fundraising activities, I just wanted to mention, I know we spoke so much about what we do with caregivers, but we also have a lot of programs for people who are actually diagnosed with the disease.
Right.
So we have an early stage support group, so all of those positive benefits of coping strategies and working with people who are in a similar situation, people who are diagnosed can get that as well. And then we also do some early stage social engagement activities. So memory cafes where people can, and their care partner can come and have lunch and enjoy live music and dance, and it's a great social activity to get people out because it is such an isolating disease.
Okay.
And of course we want to talk about our fundraisers.
Yes. So our walks, Belmont Walk is going to be September 8th.
Right.
What's the most recent one coming up?
That's the most recent.
That's the most
recent.
recent?
So that's in Suffolk County. That's the Belmont Park walk.
Right.
And I'm on that walk committee, and we have an incredible committee this year. And basically what we want people to know is having a team builds awareness. Fundraising is a part of it.
Right.
But if you can't fundraise and you just want to come out and walk and just be there that day and learn about what we're doing and be there, the first time I ever did this, I stood up on a stage and looked out to over 400 people in a park, all wearing purple, all there because they're touched by this disease. And it's life-changing. It stops you. You take a breath.
Have you started to advertise for this yet?
Yes, we have.
All right. Do you have a JPEG flyer?
A flyer, JPEG. No, that's a picture. But yeah, no.
It is on our website.
They can get on.
The dates are on the website. It is on our Facebook page as well.
They can start
all 3
registering
walks.
already.
You can register for walk right now.
So that's what I'm saying. I will put it on my Facebook page.
Please.
Both of them.
Right.
If you email it to me.
I will.
Yes, we will get it out.
Sponsorships are available. Vendor tables are available. It's a great way to come out.
How much
if
are vendor
you have,
tables?
It depends on the type of sponsorship level.
Yeah,
you're
because
So
looking
you
how
can take
can
one walk, 2
right?
or
How can
3.
everybody just go to alz.org
Yes.
and register for the local walk here? Now there's 3 different dates. There's September 8th at Belmont Park, 15th at Eisenhower,
Nassau.
right? and then the 21st in Yaphank.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Suffolk County. So, you know, we want everybody to go out and support this organization. So if you can do that. And then the one other thing
I
that you
just
got
want to
going
add
on.
before you say that,
Right.
you're supporting, yes, the walk and the Alzheimer's Association, but you're supporting each other.
Right.
And you're supporting yourself. As a caregiver, walking in there and seeing that I'm not alone and there's so many other people affected, it's cathartic. You can actually feel that you're not alone just by being there.
Right.
So I don't want people to think I have to come and give money or I have to come for this reason. Come because it
Come
will show
for
you
the
you're not
support.
alone. And I'm sorry, I'll let you continue.
Yeah, no, that's
No,
fine.
we want you to
And then
talk. We want
because
you to
we
say
want to
this.
get these things in, and you know, because we're short on time,
I
I'm trying to get
understand.
everything in. And then the other event that you guys got coming up in June 21st, right? The longest day.
Yes.
Now that isn't specifically a walk or anything like that. It's groups coming up with their own activities
To honor their loved ones.
to honor their loved ones.
Beautiful.
So, you know,
fundraiser.
I implore everybody, go to alz.org, look at these great charity events, get in touch with our friends here at Alzheimer's Association of Long Island.
They do a wonderful
They
job.
do a
They
great
help
job.
So many people.
Guys, they're going to be back. We're working on the date, but they'll be back before these walks happen.
And if they
we'll have
want to
them back
reach
on.
you again, what's the phone number to call you?
Sure. 1-800-272-3900. 1-800-272-3900.
There you go, you got it. You're
Okay.
trained. You're perfect.
All right, guys. Well, we thank you for being on tonight.
Thank you for
and
having
we look
us.
forward to
Our
having
pleasure.
you guys again.
And you'll be
All
back.
right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Great job.
Great job.
All right, everybody.
Just this broken soul. I'm always a giver, but I'm never known. And I'm just this lonely man, alone on the river with my heart in my hand. The conversation, they're all dead. The lines cut off inside my head. I live here like a broken man, with no idea of where I stand. Oh, my mind clears. Lord, I share my tears. Oh, now baby, I was just waiting here while you moved on. Now what remains of this shattered soul is something I've always wanted to know. There's no sense of security, this newfound freedom you kept from me. The sound of all your loaded gun, this heartbreak war has just begun. The sound of all your loaded gun, this broken man has already won. Oh, my mind clears. Lord, I share my tears. Oh, now baby, I was just waiting here